everybody, Louise here with my 144 topics, and this week I am talking about grounding. So I'm staying on the subject of earth and really about grounding. So purposely this morning I haven't meditated or done anything like that because we'll just talk about it a little bit more. So why is grounding really important? So whether you're looking at, base chakra points or whether you're looking at lower points in the body, grounding is really foundational for us. It's really important. And where we are right now at this time on the planet as well, it's really important as well that we look at what foundations we're putting down. So a couple of analogies that's going to help you to understand a little bit more about grounding is, when we think about we build a house and we're actually, got a house, we built a house. Now, if we haven't built the house on solid foundations, then, something can happen. And it only takes one foundation to crumble. So, whether it's one corner or not. So if we look at a box, one foundation crumbles, the rest will basically go with it. So building foundations is very important, and having that solid grounding is very important as well. So the other analogy that would help with that as well is the fact of a tree. So, when we look at a tree, can often have as much bigger root system underneath as the canopy as it can on top. So, when I say to people I'm talking about them not being grounded, I say, things like, so, imagine if a big wind comes along, a big wind or a storm. It can be symbolic of anything in your life, of a drama, of a problem or any issue that you have in your life. Like when that sort of comes in, what can happen is if we're not grounded and if our roots aren't in the ground, then, we can get uprooted. So we know that when, if there isn't a solid rooted tree and when there's a storm, it can quite easily blow over. So it's really much the same for us. So, when we're solid and we're connected into being grounded, then, often it's a case of the fact that we might lose a few leaves or branches, but basically, we're pretty solid. So the signs of someone who's not very grounded can be someone or people who can be very much affected by what other people think, what other people say, what other people do. They can be very much led by fear. They can very much live in doubt, because very much to the point where they're not actually connected into themselves and they're grounded to themselves. So when you become very grounded with yourselves, you sort of know who and what you are. And it's like, well, I know what I am. It doesn't matter. A good example of this was my daughter when she was 12, because, I've always encouraged the kids to learn more about life in general. She had a girl call her a bitch or something, and being a 12-year-old, she came home from school and she was so proud of herself. And she goes, "Mum," I said to her, "I don't care what you think about me. I know who I am." And I was really proud of her for that. That was really good, because she's grounded. She's very grounded. So some people naturally are more earthed and grounded, and some people are naturally more air. And it's really about getting that balance, because we do live on a planet, we're spiritual beings, we're living on an earthly planet. So actually getting that balance between the two. So at the moment I'm not grounded. So I am going to ground myself and then continue this conversation, and see if you can actually be aware and notice any difference. So I'm just going to take a few seconds to ground myself. I'm going to close my eyes. Yeah. So now I'm all grounded. So it's really just a practice of actually allowing yourself to become grounded, and I will do another video talking about more the practical applications of this. It's just, when we become more grounded, we become more centered, and we basically get out of our head more, and we can actually get more into our body. So it's really important for us to ground into our body and connect into our body. So part of the work that I do in the higher laws or in Vitational seminars is about embodiment, because I spent most of my life getting out of my body and doing whatever I could to get out of my body, get off my head or whatever it is, to really detach from myself physically. where is the freedom that we have and the liberation that we're going to have in our lives is really by connecting in. And the reason I was not wanting to get into my body and to ground myself is basically because there was too much stuff. There was too much going on. There was too much problems, issues, unresolved shit in my life. So I actually found it very hard to do that. I know that when I first started doing meditation, I actually found meditation really, really hard because I'd spent most of my life getting out of my body and actually not being grounded. I was not able to have the discipline to actually allow myself to do that. So you may ask, how do I ground myself? So what happened for me initially was meditation. I mean, meditation is a great way to ground yourself. It's a great way to have focus and clarity. But for me to start with, it was really much using visualization. So creative visualization and just even doing stuff like mantra. And mantra is really just repeating what you're going to be saying again and again and again and again. And just to start retraining yourself to have some sort of focus. From that, then it evolved into grounding, into meditation. So grounding things are often embodiment things. So they're things like, eating, having a glass of water, having some food, doing some physical based things like exercise, even having sex can be often very grounding and bringing you into your body. So just to highlight the benefits of grounding, knowing that when we're grounded and centered, we are not in a space of fear and doubt as much. We're actually in a space of feeling connected. And yes, that can sometimes be unpleasant, but there are easy ways to move through that and to have that centered and grounded space. So I'm just going to finish on one more note, and one more thing which is really important about grounding is because the belief that I have is that Mother Nature and Earth, really she is our knowledge keepers. She has all the knowledge and the information, like every single thing that's ever happened on this planet. She has the knowledge in that. And when you start to center yourself and ground yourself and bring yourself back in, then you can have access to that. So when I mean access, I mean that your inspiration will start to flow. When you're centered and grounded, you will be guided more by your internal guidance system as opposed to being guided by something external. And as I said before, you will be less influenced by what others think, say and do, because it's more of an internal guidance. So I'm just going to finish by ungrounding myself like that. And I'm noticing as I'm ungrounding myself, I don't know what to say. I'm just like a bit scattered. My vision is like sort of up here. So I'm just going to center myself and ground myself again. So yeah, use of the breath as well can be very grounding. Like the breath can be a very good focus point. It can be a very good way to just bring some focus and some inward attention to yourself. So yeah, just to recap, aim to start getting into a practice or to be aware of grounding yourself, aware of centering yourself, and we'll do another video more on the practical applications of it, because it's just going to make you more secure. It's going to make you feel more sure. It's going to make you feel more guided by you in your life. You're going to feel more connected to yourself, and you're going to feel more connected to the planet, which is always going to be a good thing. So until then, if you want to find out more about what I'm doing, check out thehigherlaws.com or check out Vitae Amor seminars, where we deal a lot with embodiment, and one of the, some of the first practices and the things that we do is actually really connecting in with the body, because your body will never lie to you. So until then, you have a fabulous time, and remember, this is a time for solid foundations. Look at what those foundations are. It can be in what you're doing, in your business, it can be in your relationships. Like, it's really important to have some solid foundations in your relationships, because if you don't, then they can all crumble down. So, what are your relationships based on? What is the core foundations for those? So we will be doing more talks about those as well. So until then, seeing you always in happiness and in health. You have a fabulous time, and ground yourself, see those roots connecting into the earth, and that's another really good visualization as well, just visualizing those roots connecting into the earth, seeing yourself really grounded in, tuned in, turned in, tapped on, I say. Yeah. So until then, have a fabulous time. You take care of yourself, seeing you in happiness and in health. Take care. Bye.